Entering Kenmore. Doors will open on the left.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome to episode 62 of Entering Kenmore. I am David Azer alongside Zach Coe. Zach, they're calling it the Cruise Curse. The Red Sox road trip, 7 games. They went 2-5, all of which I was in the middle of the ocean for. It was infuriating. Can't say I was 100% locked in, but it was pretty bad every time I did tune in. It was not a great road trip, and then they build off of that in a pretty good way, winning the series against the D-backs back home. We'll get into all of it, but how are you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you picked a good time to kind of tune out with that 2-5 road trip. Well, like you said, we'll get into it, but felt like a lot of the bad habits from early in the season were starting to come back around, both at the plate, well, mostly at the plate, and some new issues with the pitching staff just not getting deep enough into games. But obviously, you come back, you get back on track against the Diamondbacks at Fenway Park. Obviously, this afternoon was a rough one with Giovanni Moran, but that's kind of just the state that your bullpen's in. And I mean, we kind of buried the lead here with the bullpen curse. You go out into the middle of the ocean and Garrett Whitlock dies.
I know. It was brutal to not only that, but like just Slaten too. It was just brutal timing. The bullpen was in a pretty good spot, and you felt pretty comfortable bringing in Eric Miller. Like, this bullpen's already really solid. You have Guerrero and Miller, who can be lower but high, still pretty high leverage arms, and Whitlock and Slaten, who both looked very good. Obviously, Whitlock more so, but Chapman too. Like, that bullpen looked insane, and you didn't even really get to see it. I think Miller got here probably. Did he get here on the 3rd? I don't remember exactly, but he's only been here 2-3 weeks now, so
Yeah,
you didn't really get to see it at all.
On the 3rd. They were off on the 3rd, but they were.
Oh, right. I think he did pitch on the 4th.
Yeah, he was in the group that got activated their first game back. Yeah, the 4th. Yeah. I don't know if he pitched or not, but he definitely was activated on the 4th.
Yeah, but all this to say, like, you didn't really get to see the full-fledged bullpen because Whitlock and Slaten promptly get hurt, and you are feeling the loss of those two absolutely right now. I think a lot of these games could have gone the other way if they had Whitlock and Slaten over this road trip.
Today.
Yeah, absolutely today. And they were running. I get it with the off day. We're already jumping all over the place, but they use Guerrero and Miller back-to-back days. Multiple innings too. It's just calling up random guys like, what the hell, Olds? Wyatt Olds?
Wyatt Olds.
Yeah, so that shows you where the bullpen's at. And Olds, hey, 2 scoreless appearances. I can't really get on him, but that just shows where you're at this point. And now I'm just kind of, I couldn't even really get upset with the losing streak. I guess it wasn't really a streak, but I wasn't mad overall with the road trip because you've already kind of cemented yourselves in this terrible American League. You're pretty comfortably sitting in that second wild card spot. So it's not like early in the season when I'm like, sell everyone. I'm tired of this. So now that they've gone on the big streak in June and July, I'm not as upset over a rough stretch.
Yeah, I mean, like, well, first of all, like, when was it that I said that I did the Ryan Whitney, there's 0.0000. Yeah. I'm going to go back and find that episode, and I'm going to have to pull the clip for when they do eventually make the playoffs, because at this point it is all but a certainty. I'll pull up what the Fangraphs playoff odds are right now. But yeah, I kind of set the bar as like, okay, you can't get mad at how poorly they're playing until they're at risk of falling out of a playoff spot. And even through that rough stretch where, dating back to the final 2 games of the A's series, you had lost 6 of your last 10, you still had a 5-game lead over every other team fighting for that last playoff spot. So you were never really in danger of falling out. I think the better word that I would have used to describe it was frustrating. Like, some of those things that I talked about there in kind of my opening thought, where it's like, okay, getting a little bit too aggressive on the base path. Like, you feel like an offense where it's like, okay, we have to manufacture runs, and when we're not manufacturing runs, we're just pushing the envelope just a little bit too much. I think the number one example of that was in Toronto. I don't know if you caught this one, when Cedar Rafaela tried to take 2 bases on a pass ball and got thrown out at third. That to me is the like number one of it all. But even like just bad swing decisions, Rafael as a whole, he just hasn't been right over the course of the last couple of weeks. But it's really been everybody. Wilson Contreras hasn't been himself since he got hit in the dome by that pitch in LA. He's starting to kind of come back into form a little bit with the home run against the D-backs, but overall just like some of those bad tendencies, particularly on offense, that were starting to come around. It was one of those things where, I mean, we saw how bad this team was for the first 2 months of the season playing that brand of baseball. So if that was going to be a consistent occurrence and they actually were at the position where they could be out of the playoffs thanks to a bad stretch, then I would have been mad, I would have been angry, I would have been all that. But I think frustrating is the right way to describe that.
Yeah, and I mean that goes hand in hand with the starters not being able to go super deep into these games, because with the taxed bullpen, you're relying so much more on these starters to give you length, and largely it hasn't happened throughout that road trip and a little bit of this series as well with the Diamondbacks. I think it was better at home, but even still, like, that is a little bit of a concern, and that's why I go back to my B- trade deadline grade, because if you just brought in an innings eater, I'm not asking for anyone good. I wouldn't want Zach Littell at this point, because that was tough on Monday. But there's got to be some middle ground there they could have done. Potentially, I know, and this may be Zach Littell territory, but I heard today they were in on Nestor Cortez, who ended up signing with the Phillies. So even someone like that, like there's got to be someone out there they could bring in. I just think you need to give this rotation a little bit of a breather. I mean, you see it especially with Tolle and Jake Bennett, more so with Bennett. I think Tolle today was showing some signs of workload, because they're already both past their career highs, like, pretty comfortably. Yeah. So what does that look like down the stretch? I don't fully agree with parting with Connolly early and Tyler Uberstein if you weren't going to bring anyone else in.
Yeah, I mean, Uberstein, I think, is a little bit different of a case, because he was pretty much in a strictly relief role since coming back from the injured list, like only a couple innings. So I don't know. And like ultimately, I think there's a real chance, and we'll get into it as we talk about these guys coming back, that either Eli White or Jahmai Jones just gets DFA'd. I think the answer should be Duran getting sent to AAA, just because that way you don't risk having to lose one of those two guys. But if they weren't at least a little bit comfortable with the possibility that Eli White would be getting DFA'd, then that should tell you all you need to know about Tyler Uberstein and how the organization felt about him. Like, he was a guy that was probably on the fringes of your 40-man roster to begin with. But I think the real concern there is with Bennett, who has shown some serious signs of wear over his last however many starts. It's been his last 5, really. I'll pull up the numbers right now. But really, the last 5 have been brutal. It's an ERA north of 5, and really in this last one against Pittsburgh, you really started to see some of the wear, where he wasn't as sharp as he had been. I mean, we're talking about a guy with pinpoint control, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the walks are completely out of control, but when you're talking about a guy who really wasn't walking any batters at all, and now that number's ticking up, it is something that's at least worth monitoring. In those 5 starts, it's 17 earned runs on 31 hits, a 5.67 ERA. He's walked 8 batters after walking only 5 in the 43 innings before that. Now it's 8 in 27 innings, so pretty substantial jump there. And obviously Chad Tracy, after that game in Pittsburgh, says, "Oh, we're not concerned about his workload. Like, it just like he just didn't have it." But obviously they are, because he was slated to start today against the Diamondbacks, and they obviously pushed him back all the way back to Sunday, I believe. He'll start in that Giants series. So they're obviously at least monitoring it a little bit. But it's like you said, it's an incomplete trade deadline, and I'll pull it up right now. But like a guy like Kevin Gausman, where he's a expiring contract, and you could have had him for cheap. Like, what did he give up for? What did the Cubs give up to land Kevin Gausman? It was Ty Sukhcien and another back-end prospect. It seems like there was plenty of guys out there to go out and target to just land a guy like that, and it didn't have to be Gausman. Gausman seemed like logically a pretty good fit because he has the playoff pedigree. He's pitched well in the AL East, and he's had a down year, but like overall that contract with the Blue Jays has been a smashing success. It's Ty Suthisen, who was the number 13 prospect in the Cubs organization, and where's this fella's first name? I guess his first name doesn't matter. The number 21 prospect. So number 13 and number 21. And obviously you have a pretty depleted farm system here, but we'll just go off of the current Red Sox farm system. Number 13 is Yoelin Cespedes, and number 21 is Mikey Romero. Like,
yeah, I would have done that.
right. And all you do is you take on the money for the rest of the year. It would have been that easy. And now we're sitting here, and I think part of the bullpen issue isn't necessarily the starters getting deep into games, because that obviously does factor into it pretty heavily. But it's also when you go on a historic stretch like the one the Red Sox went on, like, you're winning all these games. You're inevitably going to be using your high leverage relievers in all these games.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair point. It's just I can't get super upset that they didn't go out and get a starter, because I think of Garrett Crochet. I know he's been mentioning that the most he could probably do this year if he were to come back is like 2 innings. I think we kind of knew that already, that he wasn't going to have time to ramp up. But I also think for the future, like, the rotation's probably going to be fine if Crochet comes back and stays healthy. Like, they are at least 6 deep at that point. So depending on what happens with Sonny Gray. But
well, sure, but as we learned this year, they went into the year, like 14 deep, and now they don't even have, now they're not even 6 deep.
Yeah, so you can never have enough pitching depth. I think, I mean, Oviedo exists, so there's still a little bit of depth, but I'm concerned.
Well, yeah, but that's all next year. Like, Oviedo's still only in a bullpen progression. Tanner Houck faced live batters for the first time the other day, but only 25 pitches. So, like, he's not going to be an option for you to start this season. Cutter Crawford also not going to be an option to start. So, like, that's why Gosman was the guy. An expiring contract who was cheap. They were simply just looking to get off the money and get maybe an intriguing prospect or two in the process, and then he would have been gone at the end of the year. That was the guy to go out and get. And I don't know if they showed any interest at all. We didn't get any reports on that they were interested in him, but, like, to me, that's the one black eye. And if things are going to kind of go to hell in a handbasket here down the stretch, which, to be honest, I don't think they are, but that'll be the number one reason why, because I think Payton Tolle, like, obviously today didn't have his best stuff, but, like, I don't think that he's showing the same signs of wear that Bennett is. And then hopefully you get Ranger Suarez starting to build back up. I know it was really one bad inning on Tuesday against the D-backs, but hopefully you can start to get him working deeper into games. And then honestly, like, it seems like there's not a ton of concern on Whitlock and Slaten, so hopefully they can take these 2 weeks to kind of rest up their elbows, kind of get the maintenance that they need, and then come back in a couple weeks ready to go.
Yeah, I'm not overly worried either. I feel like we are a little doom and gloom right now. I mean, the road trip itself sucked, but, like, overall, I like I said earlier, like, I can't get super upset just given the landscape of the American League. Like, if they were bursting at the seams, if they were plummeting in the standings, like, I would be hitting the panic button, of course, but largely nothing has changed. So I'm not overly concerned at the moment. And I think it helps that you're getting a lot of, well, I say a lot of, but at least one really good offensive piece coming back relatively soon, it looks like.
Yeah, we'll see how much time he'll need. But just one last thing on the rotation. Like, to me, as long as you have your 3 guys to start a playoff series, or at least a wild card series, Gray, Tolle, and Suarez, healthy, that's all that really matters to me, because you can mix and match things in the bullpen moving forward. Obviously, that's health dependent in Slaten and Whitlock's case, but, like, then say you need a 4th starter, like Dan Ball said this on Twitter. He texted it to me too. Like, could Garrett Crochet serve as an opener for Brian Bayo, who has continued to be just absolutely nails out of the bullpen? Can Jake Bennett, can this rest that you're working in for him, can he start to return to form? Could he potentially be a 4th starter? Like, as long as you are in good shape going, like, at this point, it's entering today, it was a 91% chance on Fangraphs that they get in. So pretty locked into a playoff spot, barring a 2011 style collapse down the stretch here. So as long as you have all your ducks in a row heading into the playoffs, I really find it hard to be, like, overly concerned. It's something that I'm monitoring. I'm monitoring the situation.
Yeah, totally fair. I would say, like, I'm not overly concerned as well. Like you said, it's just it is annoying that
Yeah,
like you
yeah.
you bring in Adley Rutschman, that's awesome, but still Craig Breslow didn't have the exact trade deadline you were looking for. I understand you have limited
I mean,
pieces. I
yeah.
understand,
Like all things
but
considered, you're not everything's going to be an A+ deadline.
no, and it was miles better than his other ones. That's what we were saying last episode too. Adley Rutschman looked a little bit tough throughout the road trip, and really since he had been in Boston, I think the Diamondbacks series was a big step forward. He would have been Scherzer of the series if it weren't for someone else we'll get to later,
Yeah.
which I don't even know if we have all the votes for that. So that might be impromptu.
Oh yeah. I'll send a text right now so that we can talk. But yeah, I think it. I mean, to be honest, I think it's pretty clear where it's going.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. We did allude to it. Roman Anthony, Trevor Story, and Isiah Kiner-Falefa are all making rehab starts now. I believe Roman's the only one in Portland. The other
Yeah.
two are in Worcester. Uh, Roman, I'm really excited for. The other two, I guess I'll take IKF. Trevor Story, I really don't want to see back ever. And I know that's probably not the smartest take, but I'm just so sick of it. I can't do it anymore.
No, I understand being done. I do just a quick point on Adley before we get into that stuff. I mean, I just think it was clear that he wasn't ready to be back. Like,
Yeah, they did
which
rush him.
to me, like the question then becomes like, okay, like the return, because obviously you wind up sending fuck, what the hell is his name?
Rivas?
Yeah, yeah. Harold.
I think Harold.
Yeah, obviously you end up sending Harold Rivas over, which then it was speculated by the Sox prospect guys and Milliken that that was tied to when he returned, and obviously Cotillo has then followed it up with that was the case. So like, why are you then turning around and rushing Adley back if you're giving up like a not nothing prospect for that? Like that's a guy, he was either your highest paid international free agent signing in 24 or 25, or the second highest paid. Like that was not a Harold Rivas, that's who it was. Jesus, I don't know how I freaking forgot about that. But yeah, so like it's not a nothing prospect to give up. So for him to come back and look like he obviously didn't have his timing, because I think that's what it was. It was simply the timing portion of things, because he really wasn't swinging the bat at all, and obviously it was out of date after a couple days, but stats tweeted that his swing percentage was only in the 20%, and the lowest qualified hitter was at 35%. So like, to me, that was just a guy that didn't have his timing right and was trying to figure it out at the major league level. He was kind of in between, and we started to see him come around now in this Diamondback series. But again, like to that point, my question is, why not just bring him back for the Diamondback series?
And it also made no sense rushing him back because Connor Wong looked a little competent. Jake Rogers was holding it down and then promptly got DFA'd once Adley was brought back. That was a little depressing. I think he had like 2 doubles in one of the White Sox games, maybe the last one. That 13 inning thriller that kept me at Fenway Park until like 12 in the. No, I think it was. I want to say it was after that series, but anyway, that game kept me until 12 at night. That was brutal before a work day. But all this to say, there was no point in rushing Adley back. You gave up, like you said, a semi-competent prospect. I wasn't overly confident that Harold Rivas was going to give anything to the major league team, but it still makes no sense why you would bother rushing him back if he clearly wasn't ready. And you already see them taking it slower with Roman, Trevor Story, and IKF.
Well, the slower is a relative term, because it sounds
Yeah.
like Story's going to reconvene with the medical staff tomorrow during the off day and potentially be back in the lineup on Friday.
Yeah, they can keep him.
Yeah.
Put him in a white batted room, bro. I don't want him.
And like I get like, and maybe that this is the case with Adley too. Obviously, Adley's not the same kind of like grizzled veteran that Story is, but Story was essentially like, yeah, like unfortunately, I've been through enough of these rehab appearances in my career where like I know my body and I know I'm ready to go. And really, it's kind of a testament to like the shape that he's put himself in and the work he's done before he was fully cleared for baseball activities coming back from the hernia, where he feels like he only needs a couple games to like get back into game action because he's already in playing shape, which like I guess like the bar is the floor in that case because you're a
Yeah.
professional baseball player, so you should be in playing shape if you're planning on coming back this season. But I mean, ultimately the problem is that Andrew Monasterio is an abomination defensively at shortstop, and they just need to get a competent shortstop back. And I know that I ripped a whole lot on Trevor Story's defense, but when he was healthy, but also he was at least he was a more competent shortstop than Monasterio is defensively. But it's an interesting conversation, at least with him, because you have the Franklin Arias of it all, and obviously it becomes a much more difficult conversation. Like people keep likening it to the Bogart situation in 2013, but there wasn't the giant black cloud of the lockout looming
Right.
over calling up Bogarts. With Franklin Arias, there is that. This kid is 20 years old, and if you call him, or if you just simply add him to the 40-man roster, which obviously they wouldn't do if they weren't going to call him up, but if you just add him to the 40-man roster, he's officially locked out on December 2nd with the rest of your prospect, or with the rest of your 40-man roster. So is it worth it to have him up? So say like they're going to give Trevor Story run here to reclaim the shortstop position, and they'll tell you, oh, like he was playing through it. Like he said that it started bothering him in the spring, but then it really started bothering him during that series where they fired Cora in Baltimore in April. But he was one of the worst hitters in baseball, point blank, period, whether he was battling through it or not. So, how long do you give Trevor Story to prove that he can be more of the player he was in 2025 before you go ahead and say, okay, this isn't working, we need to get Arias up here? And then, okay, so say you're not going to give him a week. That's not fair to get back. You missed 3 months. Now you're back in major league action. You have 1 week to prove that you can keep your job. So, what, you give him 2, 3 weeks? Where does that put you? There are only 6 weeks left in the regular, or 7 weeks left in the regular season at this point. So now you're talking about bringing up Franklin Arias for the last 3 or 4 weeks of the regular season, and then the playoffs, obviously, to get adjusted. And so then you're putting him in an unfair position too, where it's like, welcome to the big leagues. You're the starting shortstop on a playoff team, and you have 4 weeks to get used to major league pitching before the competition level gets ramped up 15 times than anything you've ever seen before playing in the minors. So it's a tough discussion. I generally lean with you that I'm all set with Trevor Story, but I don't really see a scenario where they bring Arias up here in 2026 unless things get really dire with Story.
I agree. I mean, they also have a bunch of infield depth, particularly in the middle infield. I don't think all of them are good. I don't think any of them should take priority over Franklin Arias, but part of me leans that way and thinks the front office is not going to make that call this year, just because they feel like they're good depth wise with Monasterio, Siegler, Sogard, who's looked pretty good as well. So I don't. Unfortunately, I don't see it happening this year for Arias. I understand that if it is really dire, you're trying to win this year. Like 2027 should not be the concern if you're making a legitimate playoff push and Arias gives you the best chance to contend for a World Series. Like, I think you have to put everything else by the wayside if it really feels like you have a shot. But I think they're going to give Trevor Story too much time. Like, I think they're going to give him at least a month. And by that point, yeah.
But how is that? I just don't know that that's too much time, is I guess where I kind of come into things.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking about a guy
fair.
who hasn't played since May. So, like, is that too much? Like, I think maybe it's not giving Arias enough time by the time you decide that Story isn't the guy.
Yeah, I wasn't necessarily being like he should only have a month leash. I was just meaning like they're going to give him too much time for Arias to have any amount of time to ramp up in the major leagues beforehand.
Yeah, and I do agree with that. But so the only thing we've heard from Craig Breslow about the lockout was on the Greg Hill show, talking about it in regards to the deadline. So I do wonder if I mean, obviously the way they approached the deadline was that they didn't care about the 2027 lockout because they wouldn't have traded for Adley Rutschman, who's a free agent after the 2027 season that might not get played at all. It seems like it's like nearly impossible that we're not going to miss games in 2027. It just seems like that's the way this is headed. You have owners saying, we don't care, we'll miss games. You have players saying, well, we don't care, we'll miss games. So it just seems like that's the most likely outcome at this point. But he said about the deadline, the way we're approaching 2026 is more driven by the talent that we think we have on the team, the step forward we made last year making it to the postseason, and the organizational stated intentions building upon that, more so than what might happen in 2027. We got a great opportunity ahead of us in 2026, and that's what we're focused on. And he went on to say, if you spend all your time spent thinking about what might happen in 2027, you can twist yourself into pretzels. So obviously that's all well and good when you're talking about how you're going to approach the trade deadline, but now we're talking about the development of a 20-year-old kid. So I do wonder if they lean more towards that side, and the side that Sean McAdam was reporting, that there was a sense from ownership in the upper echelon of Fenway Sports Group and the organization that there's no more kicking the can down the road. It's time to go for it, because if that's the case, then Franklin Arias should be your starting shortstop whenever you decide that's necessary, if you think that he is an upgrade over Trevor Story, which I think anybody with a brain right now would say that he is, but it's kind of an unfair position to Story to be like, oh, you got injured, sorry, now you've lost your job. Like, you at least have to give him that opportunity. And if he comes out and he is that player that he was in the second half of 2025, great. You still have the number 2 prospect in baseball, and he gets to play next year.
Yeah, it makes almost too much sense if Trevor Story isn't in the picture. That's just the problem, is there's a brick wall right in front of you and it's Trevor Story. Like,
right.
That's part of why I'm just so out on him at this point, because I'd rather just see Arias tomorrow than have any more of, hey, Trevor Story did this in the minor leagues, check it out. Like, I don't care. I'm so tired of the rehab starts for Trevor Story. Like, I'm just exhausted of it. It's not his fault. I understand a lot of these are fluke injuries that you wouldn't expect. It's not really that he's made of glass. Like, a couple of these
He is a little bit. He is a little bit.
Yeah. The hernia doesn't help. Like,
no.
But it's just like
fluky, but some of the other stuff he's made it.
Yeah, and like I remember he dove in against the Angels and got hurt. I think that was 2024.
Yeah, 24. He missed like the entire season.
Yeah, after getting hurt in the first West Coast road trip.
Yeah, like that was a little bit fluky too, where like he just kind of landed awkwardly going all out. But like some of the elbow stuff, like I don't like. I mean, like at a certain point, you miss so much time over the last year was the first like nearly full season that he played in this 5-year contract that he signed with the team. So like,
and how did he follow it up? Yeah, so
you can't change that injury prone label, whether it's fluky shit or not.
No, and at this point, the contract's underwater. I understand you still have a year left, but we didn't even mention that Massa got hurt, but I'm going to miss Massa. Like, it's interesting because I feel like Massa's also been pretty injury prone. He's missed a decent amount of time in a couple seasons here now.
Yeah, but some of those were they just told him to get lost.
It's fair.
Like, he was out in left field playing football, and they were like, his shoulder is just so hurt, like he can't possibly play. Like some of that stuff, they were doing some manipulation there. I would venture to guess.
I agree, but really, I'm just waiting for both of their contracts to go off the books, and then you have a decent chunk of change to play with.
Yeah, so are they. I mean, they're just like, I mean, Massa had been like great over this stretch. Like so for him to go down is like really unfortunate, but also it just like it allows you to continue to boot that can right on down the road in terms of the outfield logjam, because sure enough, Masataka Yoshida goes down right as Roman Anthony's starting to get ready to ramp things back up. So now you have a situation where Jarren Duran is one of the worst qualified hitters in baseball, and he somehow, some way is going to find his way into this lineup every single day, at least against righties, because Roman's going to play left or DH, and against righties, Duran is going to play whichever position Roman isn't playing, and then it's either going to be one of Jahmai Jones or Mickey Gasper drawn into the lineup against lefties.
I'm so out on Duran too. But yeah, Craig Breslow is a master at somehow being able to kick this can down the road until the end of time.
He's got the voodoo dolls. Whenever a guy's starting to come back, it's just like, oh, Masa's hamstring, snip. Like
the luck really needs to be studied. It is astounding how far this has gotten. And I know we saw, I don't remember who reported it. It might have been McAdam. I don't want to say that if he didn't say it, but, or maybe it was Nightingale, but someone said that the Red Sox were interested in moving Duran in the offseason.
Yeah, it was Nightingale. So yeah, I bet they are. Yeah, they were supposedly interested in moving him last offseason too. They were valuing him like a 8-win player. Like, so I mean, you like
that's not going to happen.
Like at this point, you got to just cut bait. Like that's where we're at with Jarren Duran. Like he's more trouble than he's worth. He's yelling at your best player for missing a sign. He's the second worst qualified hitter in the sport. He gets into monthly altercations with fans, it feels like, and some of them go well beyond anything that any reasonable person can defend, yet the folks on Red Sox Facebook will still find a way because he shares the same shitty political beliefs as them. But for whatever reason, he's just the guy that they can't seem to let go, and it's so annoying because you had a guy who was an actually valuable trade deadline asset last year. I mean, let's take that reported trade offer from the Padres, for example, of Dylan Cease, Ethan Salas, and another lower level prospect. So you have Dylan Cease, you get a 2-month head start on negotiating with him ahead of free agency, which we know they showed interest before the Blue Jays blew everybody else out of the water with 7 and 210 or whatever that deal wound up being. Ethan Salas, after being rushed up to Double-A, finally looks like the prospect that he was hyped up to be. He's now top 10, pretty much consensus, and up in AAA, mashing in a small sample size there. And then whatever lottery ticket prospects. So you have Dylan Cease, you get a 2-month head start negotiating with him. Maybe he's here instead of Ranger Suarez, who has been good, but Dylan Cease is going to win or finish second for the Cy Young. So it doesn't really matter how good Ranger Suarez has been because he's not going to be that good. And you beat the Yankees in the wild card series. We already know what the Blue Jays thought of you going into a series where they were happy that the Yankees beat you. So who knows what that looks like. And then from there, like, you're in the ALCS. Anything can happen from that point on. That's just in last year's perspective. Now you go out and you expend Ianson and Witherspoon and to take your farm system from number 9 in baseball to number 21 in baseball on Baseball America, all because you don't have Ethan Salas, the catcher of the future. You go out and you expend those assets for Adley. Where could those assets have been used otherwise? Like, it's just, there's so many different like ways, like like hindsight's 2020, and I just bent myself into a pretzel thinking about all the ways things could have been differently. But like it's an interesting discussion worth having, and it's why I continue to question whether or not, and obviously the Ketel Marte stuff here with Arizona, like maybe that wasn't the best use of his assets in Connolly Early and Marcelo Meyer, like the reported deals over the summer. But it's just like, it's some of these decision-making things where like maybe that's like, this is now the growth that we saw at the trade deadline is now going to carry over through there. But like, it's just some of these things where it's like, man, like, bunch of things could have gone differently if you just moved on from Jarren Duran when you should have.
Well said. I don't think I have anything to add. I feel like we do a Jarren Duran hit piece in pretty much every episode now.
But as long as he continues to stink, why shouldn't we? He's out there every day, just absolutely stinking up the joint. Like, he is a pretty useless player at this point.
He had a relatively good series. Is the only thing.
Yeah, well, that's he has good series at a time. Like, he probably I mean,
I think he won a jersey.
He's won a couple. That's what I was gonna say. It feels like he's won a couple jerseys here and there, but overall, it's been the one good month, and other than that, it's been largely trash.
Yeah, and at a certain point, we just have to move on. I feel the same way about Trevor Story, and for different reasons, of course. Trevor Story's not going out there and yelling at fans and calling people slurs. It's like, oh, at a certain point, what are we doing? There's,
Right.
I wasn't, I don't think I could ever overlook it, but I was like, he can do whatever he wants, like at least he's an all-star game MVP and like playing at an otherworldly level. Like you can overlook it at that point, but
Right.
not really in this case when you're the second worst hitter in the sport.
Right. I mean, the slurs are one thing. I don't think anybody
Yeah.
should overlook that stuff, even if he was playing at an MVP caliber level when that happened, and obviously people
Right.
still but getting into it with fans, like if he was flipping off fans in Minnesota when he was putting up a 7.5 WAR season like he did in 24, I'd be like, yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
But no, it doesn't play when you're the second worst qualified hitter in the sport.
To some people it does.
Yeah, because they share the same shitty political beliefs as him.
He's it's so weird that he's like a mental health advocate, and I think that's really cool. And then everything else the guy does is just horrendous.
Yeah, every other part of his personality besides that is like he could like, and it's so bizarre because you talk about like being on one end of the spectrum to the other, like those are on two totally different sides of the spectrum, and he finds a way to straddle them, really.
Like he advocates for mental health, but he's also
the
most mentally soft player I've ever seen.
Right, yeah. Like he lets the tiniest little things impact him. It's just
doesn't add up. Add up. Let's see. Do we have anything else before D-backs recap here?
IKF working his way back. I don't think that's too major. It's just an interesting. I guess this is the spot to talk about the roster crunch because you're gonna have probably a week or two before the rosters expand, and you only get 2 spots now. It's not just the entire 40-man roster, which I think is ridiculous because like we're seeing the effects on the pitching staff of a 162 game season. Will Fleming said this during the rain delay on Sunday, where he thinks that there needs to be roster expansion if we're going to keep this thing at 162 games a season, because every team across the league is having to do the same constant pitching staff reshuffling because of how long the season is. So at a certain point, we just need to expand these rosters and allow for more pitchers, because 162 games with how hard guys are throwing, with the high level of spin and movement that's on these pitches, like it's too long of a season to only have X amount of roster spots to be able to be used on pitching. So it'll be interesting to see there, but you're going to have like about a week and a half. And obviously the candidates to go down, you're going to need to send down 2 infielders. I think that Nick Sogard and Anthony Siegler are the 2 guys going down when Story and IKF get healthy. It's just which order they go down in. I think it's interesting production-wise. Sogard has obviously been the better of the 2 lately, but from a vibes perspective, can you really afford to send Seagulls down?
Right.
It's just I don't know where you stand on that. I think I lean towards, like, if they're both going down, I lean towards Sogard going down first.
I agree, pretty much only because of the vibes thing. I saw a video where someone, I think, strapped a GoPro to Anthony Siegler in the dugout, and he was just going around giving high fives to literally everyone in the dugout. It was hilarious. And I think that's an underrated part of all this, is you need a vibes guy. So Nick Sogard, I guess, has been producing pretty well. Obviously, the leadoff homer today on the first pitch the Red Sox saw against Brandon Pfaadt, but I kind of need the vibes, especially if Trevor Story's not going to be pulling his weight. Like, you got to have something in the middle infield at least. I don't need him to play. He hasn't been playing really lately either.
No, in 29 games, so he started 15 games after being recalled when IKF went down. It was .319 with a .918 OPS, and in the 29 games since then, he's hitting .217 with a .622 OPS. However, they're 31-13 since he's been back.
Yeah.
Or in games he's played in. So it's just there's something there with that. And then obviously in terms of the outfield, as Roman gets back, you currently have 5 outfielders on your roster in Abreu, Rafaela, Duran, Jones, and White. Obviously, Abreu and Rafael are written in Sharpie, so it comes down to Duran, Jones, and White. Obviously, with White, you get the defensive capabilities where you feel like you can give Rafaela and Abreu a night off without having to sacrifice too much defensively. Um, both of those guys also have to be DFA'd if you want to remove them from your active roster, so you risk losing them. Duran still has 2 minor league options. He's been the second worst qualifier, the second worst hitter in baseball by WRC plus this year. But what does that do for his trade value? To me, this is not going to come as a surprise to anybody listening. I'm sending Jarren Duran down to AAA. Not for any other reason other than the fact that I think that he needs consistent playing time. And I just don't think you can offer him that when Roman Anthony comes back.
No, I also think the most likely outcome is Jahmai Jones DFA, which is unfortunate. He's been a real lefty killer, but I can't remember him in the lineup this past week. Obviously, I wasn't watching super closely.
He was supposed to be in the lineup 2 days ago, but then he had like a hip thing that they had to
Yeah.
scrap it.
Okay, so I mean, like once a week on average, really.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
I just think it's tough. He gave you a couple of big homers in the 15-game heater, but past that, I just don't think he's done enough. And they, used an asset to get Eli White.
Well, they traded JoJo Ingracia as a player to be named later to the Tigers for Jahmai Jones.
But I think of Tyler Uberstein a little higher than that.
Yeah, pretty similar whatever assets. I do lean with you that way. And I mean, it's also a conversation about like you only get 2 spots coming up, so you figure that you're going to use one of them on a utility man and the other one on a pitcher. So if you if you just DFA one of those guys, you don't really like they're going to get claimed. So
right,
and they're going to
Jahmai Jones. I don't know if maybe I guess some team would take him.
He'll get claimed. He's been good with you, and he kills lefties. He'll get claimed by a team looking for a 4th outfielder that struggles against lefties. There's a team that will take him. And also with Eli White, you get the pinch running capabilities in the playoffs. So I think they probably lean towards defense and speed moving down the stretch rather than lefty killers. But again, like the simple solution to me is just you send Duran down for him to get consistent playing time.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to.
No. To me, the thing is, like, if Brian Bayo can reach a breaking point where he's showing up his teammates and ignoring the manager and shooing away the catcher when he's coming out for a mound visit, like, if that's a breaking point where he has to go down to AAA and get his head screwed on straight and rediscover his love of baseball, then how have we not reached that point with Duran? Like, just, I don't know.
It's well said. I think the only thing left we have is the Diamondbacks Series and then Jersey of the Series. But we can do Jersey of the Series pretty rapid fire.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we talked about the road trip, super frustrating road trip, but you come back and you immediately make a massive statement, just blowing the D-backs out of the water. You got to Mitch Bratt, who I actually like his floor as a major league starter, but you got to him, he only goes 3 innings. The control wasn't there, which is pretty uncharacteristic for him. He's a guy that he has a high floor because of good control. You walk, I think it was 4 times against him, and then obviously you break things open against Zach Littell, who actually I don't know if he got DFA'd after that game, but with the way that it was trending where they just completely left him out to die, I thought for sure he was getting DFA'd the next day because that's typically when you see that happen. But I don't know the exact line, but it ended up being like 11 hits, like 8 runs, 6 earned, no strikeouts. Like he just got absolutely shellacked and then left out there to die. But in terms of a response, that's exactly what you want to see from this team. Like, okay, things aren't going well. We've dropped 6 of our last 10. We're taking on a Diamondbacks team that's pretty good. They're in the wild card mix in the National League, and you come out and you absolutely blow them out of the water 2 games in a row.
It was impressive. Also, final line for Zach Littell. It is 3 2/3, 11 hits, 8 runs. Only 6 of those were earned. Didn't walk anyone, no strikeouts, 2 homers. So thanks for coming out. That was really, that's exactly what the Red Sox needed at this point, was just meatball subs
Yeah.
left and right. That was
Yeah.
exactly what the
They were
lineup
having
needed.
Mike's way. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That was a lot of fun. The first game I actually got to sit down and watch after the cruise was the finale of the Pirates series, which was such a tough watch. Not only because they mounted a fake comeback, I know it was never really in contention there, and then you had basically a 2-hour rain delay on top of
Two and
it.
a half. It was the
Yeah.
rain delay was the same length as the game time, 2 hours and 34 minutes.
Yeah, we could have called that. I don't understand the point. We
It
were
was
going
totally
into Sunday Night
because
Baseball. Yeah.
it was totally because Connor Wong hit what wound up being that meaningless 3-run home run that cut it to a 4-run game. If they were just down 7-0, I think they would have said like, "All right, let's get on the plane."
Yeah. Yeah. I bet they would have. Anything else, game one?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. We saw Abley finally start to get going. He hits a double in that one. Finally looks more like himself, like the player you traded all those prospects for, which is obviously encouraging. And then obviously as we move into game two, he finally hits his first home run, really leans on one, just absolutely pooped on it, as the kids say. But I mean, games 1 and 2 kind of just blend together for me because
Yeah.
it was, like I said, the perfect response after dropping 6 of your last 10. The offense starting to sputter a little bit, dating back to that Athletic series, which for whatever reason, the Athletics are just, thank God you're not going to run into them in the playoffs because they're just the kryptonite of this Red Sox team right now. But perfect response. You come out and you just absolutely mollywop a good team in the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, couldn't really be happier. I guess if they won the game today, I would have been ecstatic. But you take a series from a good team, that's what you have to do at this point. And the schedule gets easier. I know we were talking before we started recording. They tend to play up to their competition. They don't really play down. So maybe that's not the best thing, that their schedule gets pretty light here the next couple weeks. But game two, the only real interesting thing for me was how they responded after Ranger Suarez gives up the grand slam to Moreno. Like, it was pretty immediate that they fought back in this. And that's kind of when I knew they weren't losing this game. I was a little bit worried after that grand slam, just given how the road trip went. I was like, this is a classic early season Red Sox moment where the bats would just go completely quiet the rest of the game. And that didn't end up happening. So that proves to me that this is a different team than we saw earlier in the season. I know they were making a lot of the same mistakes over that road trip, but these two offensive explosions at home, I think it was to get them back to 500 at home as well, this second win. So that's a good step in the right direction. They were absolutely brutal at home. They haven't been throughout this winning streak and beyond. So I'm not super worried anymore.
Yeah, since June 25th, this is before today, so it's now versus teams over 500, they're 19-1, and versus teams under 500, they're 17-12.
I there's no real rhyme or reason to that. We'll see if that changes. You have upcoming series against the Giants, who stink, the Marlins, who are also kind of floundering. They had a moment there for a little while where it's like, oh, are they going to
Yeah,
buy
they
at
were
the
hanging
deadline?
around.
Are they?
Yeah.
Yeah. But ultimately, they are the Miami Marlins. Who could have thought that they actually suck?
We're gonna fall out, yeah. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, to that point, I mean, that was really emblematic of the entire July and first couple weeks of August, where it was like, okay, like there was a believability, and it goes back to that Athletics series on Saturday where they load the bases for Eli White, and I think Carabas tweeted it, and then he said it on the 10, but like there wasn't a soul in that park on Saturday that didn't think that Eli White was going bridge to walk things off. Like,
Oh, yeah.
and it was something that I talked about with my friends who's a White Sox fan, where it's just like in that 13 inning game, he was like, how, like, we put them away so many times and they just refuse to die. It's just like, like they found a believability in themselves that it didn't matter what the situation was, how far they were down, they were going to punch back, and they were going to punch back immediately, which was not something that we were seeing earlier in the year. We saw them get punched in the mouth and then be eager to roll over and die. So for them to get back into that kind of like, all right, we're never say die, like we're gonna get right back into things. Our starter had one rough inning, gives up a grand slam, we find ourselves back in a hole, like, nope, we're gonna punch you back in the mouth 10 times harder than you hit us.
Absolutely. And that's why I'm not concerned over this road trip. I think responding at home was really big, and hopefully they keep it going against the Giants. Be interesting. I think ESPN lied to me with the pitching matchup. So once we get to that, I might be totally off base. Did you have anything else game two?
Nope.
All right. Game three today. Admittedly, I was kind of half paying attention. I had the radio call in my ear for the last hour of the workday. So I did actually hear the leadoff homer, which was pretty cool, pretty electric. And then Jaron Duran hit another solo shot as
Yeah.
well to
Yeah,
go
he
up
let
2-0.
off
And
one of the innings.
yeah, and then it kind of unfolded from there, which we haven't even talked about Mickey Gasper. I don't know how we didn't mention that in the first two games of this series, but spoiler alert, a homer in every game of this series. Those were his first three homers of the year.
Yes, correct. First,
So
three of four big league homers.
yeah, so drug test incoming for Mickey Gasper, certainly.
Yeah.
But it is just I could not believe it. Even the first one was a Fenway homer down the right field line, but the second homer was a tank. And today I was listening on the radio. I don't think I went back and actually watched it, so I don't know how far that one went.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how far it went, but he did get a hold of it pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, who would have thought that Zach Coe's scrub home run team is making a late push here with Roman Anthony coming back? I don't know if we ever mentioned this on the podcast, but who was it since Narvaez and Meyer got traded?
Yeah, Narvaez and Meyer got traded, so I got the first pick, and since I was so far behind, you and Joe were generous enough to allow me to select Roman Anthony with my scrub home run draft pick. He only has one on the season so far, so he does qualify for that, and he is currently not on the 40-man roster, but he will be upon activation. So yeah, I selected Roman Anthony to replace Carlos Narvaez.
Yeah, and I believe I took Anthony Siegler. That's not looking good. And I think I'm cooked because Massa also got hurt. I think I have to pick another replacement. I haven't made a decision on that.
If he goes on the 60 day, you get another one, which it sounds like that is a real possibility for him. I think it's a real possibility that we've seen the last of Masataka Yoshida in a Red Sox uniform.
That's upsetting. That's more upsetting than Trevor Story threatening a return.
It's so funny I don't necessarily agree with it. I think like they have to give him a shot, and they're obviously going to, like, just from like a pure like leadership veteran, like knows what it takes to play in the playoffs, and then you factor in all the defensive stuff with Monasterio. But like it is very funny every time that something about Story's return comes back. Everyone on Twitter is just like, this is a threat.
Oh, and it feels like it. It absolutely does. Like I want no part of him. I want him entering Changwon tomorrow. I just I can't do it anymore. But that Mickey Casper home run in game 3 does tie up the game at 5-5. And at this point, I was kind of expecting it to implode how it did because the bullpen is so thin, and Giovanni Moran pisses down his leg in the top of the 10th, and you couldn't score 2 in the bottom.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of a trend now here with Moran, where it's been his last couple outings dating back to serving up a turkey sub for Shohei Ohtani in Dodger Stadium. But he's another guy who's been way overworked. But like you said, that's just kind of the state that your bullpen's in. You already used Guerrero, Miller, and Chapman, so you're pretty much run dry on high leverage arms. Weissert stinks. He gives up the 2-run shot to Lars Nootbaar to kind of, at the time, it felt like put the game away, but then you claw your way back, you find a way to tie it, and it just kind of felt like you were going to be in a tough spot pitching-wise if you didn't walk it off in the 9th, and sure enough, Giovanni Moran walks the murderer's row of, I texted it to somebody, it was Tim Tawa and Jose Fernandez. Yeah, James McCann, Tim Tawa, and Jose Fernandez 3 walks in a row, you walk in a run, and you kind of get dinky dude on the single by Arenado. He hits 150 miles an hour over an infield that was drawn in. So it felt like a miracle that it was only 2, though, because he could not find the strike zone. He would have walked one of us if we were standing up there.
Yeah, it was kind of over before it started. Once they went to extra innings, I'm not surprised this was the end result. It's unfortunate that you lose the finale, but overall, you take a series against a pretty good team. You just got to keep stacking series wins here, and you'll be just fine. The landscape of the American League looks pretty much in your favor right now, and the only way they're not making the playoffs is, like you said, if it's a 2011 level collapse.
Yeah, and then at
Let's
which case
see.
you're talking about Chad Tracy not staying on as manager.
No, I don't even want to think about that. I'm all in on Chad Tracy.
Yeah, I am too. The Chad Sox, yeah.
Yeah, can't beat him. Can't beat him. Let's see. Scherzi of the series. I don't even think we really have individual text for this to read off.
No, I don't even know if Joe has given his vote.
Oh, he just did. He just did. All right. Oh, actually, we do have stuff to read here. So Oleg went first. He said, Mickey Gasper gets my vote. Fellow New Hampshire native Mickey Gasper. Michael said, I got Mickey. Stay hot, Gasper. And then Joe is still giving his final verdict, so we'll wait on that. I'm going Mickey Gasper as well. If he didn't hit the 3rd homer today, I would have gone to Adley, but that 3rd, I know it's a loss. I know we kind of throw those out, but like I cannot overlook 3 straight games with a homer for Mickey Gasper of all people. I'm praying that he gets a card in MLB The Show. I know I complain about how bad it is, but I'm still locked in on it because they put out a 99 Pedroia, so I needed that.
I cannot believe that you still play that game. That is...
I have nothing else to play. That's really the problem.
You got to get on the college football wave. Coach Zach. That's a YouTube series. Coach Zach. Zach teaches David how to play football video games. Coach Zach.
I'm just waiting for GTA 6 really now.
So are we all, but with Coach Zach, you're not for the content. That's content gold.
No, they added Sonic the Hedgehog to Fortnite, though, so I might hop back on.
I've been grinding. Katie almost hit level 200 on Fortnite this last season. She was like level 170, and she was like, I have 2 days. Do you think I can get 30 levels in 2 days? I was like, probably not. She didn't end up getting there, but I mean, we've been playing Fortnite OG just like whenever we have common nights off. And it's getting pretty close to the point in Fortnite OG where I say I'm all set, because that game gets pretty trash rapidly as you get deeper into the season. So I might be getting pretty close to waiting for Season 1 to roll back around in the Fortnite OG.
This gets the gears spinning. I might have to enlist Olivia on the Switch 2 to play with me.
So Katie plays on her iPad, actually.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how. It takes her 20 minutes to turn around, and I don't know how she sees anybody, but for whatever reason, she's actually become pretty good on the iPad, and I think part of that is being on the iPad, and part of it is just getting into bot lobbies, but yeah, she almost reached level 200, so I've been playing a lot of Fortnite there.
Playing exclusively on iPad, she got to almost level 200.
Well, dude, like I'll go to work, like I'll go to the park to work and stuff, and I'll come back and I'll be like, "What'd you do all night?" She'll be like, "I sat here and played Fortnite."
That is awesome.
Yeah,
we are going to have to do the April Fool's episode. It may be in like November.
That's true. Yeah, I guess that's beyond halfway. When is halfway from April Fool's?
October 1st. Yeah.
It's like right in the middle of the playoffs. I don't know that we can do an April Fool's episode.
No. So it's gonna have to be like lockout.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's lockout content right there.
Lockout content. I mean, the possibilities are endless. Did we have anything else?
A lot of bees during the lockout.
I was checking the schedule. We're not that far off. We're only like a month out.
Entering North Station come Bruins season in the lockout.
I don't think it rolls off. I mean, I guess it rolls. It makes more sense from like someone who doesn't know Boston trains, but I don't love it.
No, I don't love it either. I don't. Yeah, like you said, it doesn't really roll off the tongue. But I mean, there is no closer train station
No,
to the Garden than North Station. What the
no.
fuck?
So maybe we just switch to entering Changwon because we're gonna watch some KBO.
Yeah, some dinos. Yeah, we're gonna talk
Mhm.
some dinos. Joe is typing a novel right now in this group chat. I left it up after he gave his vote. I guess I technically haven't even given my vote yet either, but I'm on board with everybody else. I'm gonna go with the McMahon, Mickey
Oh yeah.
Gasper. I just the goatee has given him magical powers, like you said, piss test incoming because you
Oh
have
yeah.
one career home run and then you come out and you hit three in as many days and I know we typically throw out losses. I just don't know that you can throw out this loss just because he hit a game tying 3-run home run. He put you in a position to win. Like to me, like that's what the jersey is about, contributing to winning. And although they didn't wind up winning this one, he still contributed to winning, and he put you in a position where you could win because, like I said, I think everyone leading up to that home run, it kind of just felt like, all right, well, throw this one in the trash and move on to Friday, and then he gave you some believability by hitting that absolute tank.
Zach, I meant to tell you this before we hit record, but every time you hit the applause, it like blasts in the audio.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, last time you I think we sent it as like a bulk file because we had technical difficulties or something. So I
Oh,
couldn't really edit it. So whoever listened to the last episode, if your eardrums were blown out, we apologize. Oh, there it is. That's quieter. At least
I turned it down before.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. Well,
turned it down before I played it.
that's good. We also got Joe's final verdict. Thought it was going to be an essay, like you said. It's not. He said, I'll give it to Mickey, despite really wanting to go Adley. Like I said, I was going to go Adley too, if Mickey Gasper didn't do it in 3 straight games. So a unanimous jersey of the series for Mickey Gasper, of all people. That is one of the least possible things I would have expected going into this 2026 season, but somehow, some way, we're here. This may be the series of Mickey Gasper's career.
Honestly, it has to be at this point,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah. He didn't even sweep.
Good enough. We'll take it. Congratulations to Mickey on your first jersey of the series. It's a damn shame that I can't go into the Jersey Street store and purchase a number 30?
30.
30? Yeah,
Yeah.
number 30 Mickey Gasper jersey because there would have been a time when I could have, and I would have.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Half of this roster, I would have had a Durbin. I would have had a Sogard, Monasterio,
Yep.
Connor Wong. Absolutely. You could have gotten all these guys.
Let's not get crazy with the Connor Wong.
Hey, everyone loves a Wong Dong, okay? And it doesn't happen very often.
Wong Dong. Yeah, no, it doesn't. You got to cherish your Wong Dongs when you get them.
Yeah.
Cherish your dongs.
Absolutely. Let's see. Anything else before the Giants preview here?
No, I don't think so.
All right. I almost don't want to say the starting pitching matchups because I think they're already wrong. Because we heard Jake Bennett's getting pushed back to Sunday.
Yeah, let me see. The Red Sox have announced their starters. The Giants haven't yet, I believe.
Okay.
MLB at bat has Sonny Gray going against TBD on Sunday or on Friday. Then it's Patrick Sandoval against TBD on Saturday, and it's Jake Bennett against TBD on Sunday.
Okay, so along with, and I already made this joke, but along with Mickey Gasper, we're going to need to drug test TBD for going 3 straight days.
Yeah, 3 straight. Yeah, exactly. Prediction wise, I'm not confident in Patrick Sandoval going into Saturday. I don't know how you could be. The last one against Pittsburgh was really, really ugly. He is the traffic king. I forget who it was that we were calling that earlier, but Patrick Sandoval is the new Daisuke Matsuzaka, where it's a whole bunch of traffic, and that just doesn't really inspire a ton of confidence. He's number 5, obviously, with the state of your starting rotation and your pitching staff. You don't have any other options, but I think that we would all be in agreement at this point if the playoffs started tomorrow that Patrick Sandoval would not be on your playoff roster, just because you simply can't allow that level of traffic in the playoffs and expect to win games. Like, the competition ratchets up that much, the talent on the teams that you're facing ratchets that much farther up. Like, they're going to make you pay when you get those, when you give other teams those advantages. So yeah, not super confident in Patrick Sandoval, but other than that, like, we'll see how Jake Bennett comes out and looks. Like, I think this is the most important start of Jake Bennett's young career, to see how he bounces back. Obviously, you're giving him, it's going to be 13 days off. No, 10 days off.
Something
Friday to
like
Sunday.
that.
Yeah, Friday to Sunday. It's going to be 10 days off, I believe. So yeah, obviously we'll see how he bounces back. But this Giants team is really Rafael Devers and a bunch of whatever. Like, maybe you get a good game out of Bryce Eldridge here and there. Like, aside from that, there really isn't very many guys that and still a ton of confidence in you at the plate. So this is a series that you should still find a way to win, even despite the pitching maybe not necessarily being in your favor. Again, I'm not writing Bennett off by any stretch, but I am concerned about the workload. So we'll see how that falls. Patrick Sandoval, I am, however, writing him off.
Yeah, I'm going to go 2 out of 3 here. I think as long as you keep stacking these series, then you're going to be just fine. This is a bad team. I mean, historically this season they've played down, but this Giants team is just so bad. I would be really shocked if you lose this series. I just don't see it happening. I also hate Blade Tidwell. That guy stinks.
Neville Papperman.
Yeah, you told me this when I picked him to my dynasty team, and he laid an egg. I don't know why I thought I should start him against Joe, but that did not help, and I ended up losing to Joe last week. That was unfortunate.
That's what you get.
So screw him.
Neville Papperman. He, like, if you haven't seen what Blade Tidwell looks like, he quite literally just looks like Neville Papperman from iCarly.
I can't stand him. So hopefully they get to him. And I think the only other thing I had was I hope Rafi gets a standing ovation. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be standing for it. I think there's going to be some boos.
Oh, there's definitely going to be some boos. There's going to be, like, the old people that don't like him that are going to boo. There's going to be some of the younger crowd that just kind of thinks of last season as, like, his entire tenure. They're going to boo. Like, there's going to be some boos, but I also don't know how you are going. Like, maybe his first at bat, he gets the boos, but then, like, the second or third inning, they're going to play the video montage for him, and it's going to be like, oh, like, here's Rafael Devers. He was a major contributor to the 2018 World Series. And everyone's going to be like, boo, you're a fat, lazy asshole. Like, no. Like, people are going to stand up and cheer for that. Like, he was a key contributor to the 2018 World Series. He was, like, homegrown star that spent a decade of his life, or pretty much a decade of his life, in the city. Like, obviously things didn't end the way that anybody had hoped. In my case, I thought he was going to be a Hall of Famer who was the last player to wear number 11 in Red Sox history. Obviously that wasn't the case, but ultimately I think you have to look at the full body of work, and if you're not standing up and cheering for Rafael Devers for the full body of work during his Red Sox tenure, then you, sir, do not know ball. Sir or madam.
I wholeheartedly agree. I might have to break out my what year was this even from? When was the All-Star game in LA? Was that 24? Maybe last year.
Remember?
No, not last year. I don't remember.
No,
but
last year. Yeah, I don't remember when it was.
I have a All-Star game Rafael Devers jersey where the font is in gold and the shirt itself is like dark gray. So I might have to break that out for him. I don't think I have anything else. Anything else before we get out of here?
Yeah, a couple final thoughts. Number one, the big dog, Justin Gonzalez.
Oh, yeah.
Double-A Portland. He hit ahead of Roman Anthony in yesterday's game. Tonight, obviously, Roman didn't play, but he hit his first Double-A home run. To me, this is the guy that I'm most excited about in the Red Sox organization, Franklin Arias included. It's just really, really hard not to dream on the type of potential that a guy at 19 years old is 6'5", 200 and whatever pounds, and already has now 18 home runs on the year after hitting 9 in his first 2 professional seasons. Obviously, he has some of the same concerns, honestly, that Roman had as a prospect, where the ground ball rate is just too high, but we're already seeing him start to correct that. It's a 10% decrease in the ground ball rate this year, and he's already hit that's 9 more home runs than he had in the first 2 seasons. So just a minor adjustment to the ground ball rate, 10%, is already leading to that much more power. So at 19 years old, it feels like the sky's the limit for him. I'm glad they held on to him. It sounded like he was maybe not untouchable at the trade deadline, but of all the guys they wanted to hang on to, he's one that they absolutely wanted to, and it's hard to blame them. Henry Godbout also getting a taste of Double-A for the first time here. He went deep in back-to-back games, his first 2 home runs in Double-A, and he kind of fits the mold of the Christian Campbells of the system, where he was a really good contact guy in college. He played at Virginia, and they were hoping that they were able to tap into some more raw power and turn that into in-game power. And so far, in a limited sample size in Double-A, it seems like they're doing a pretty good job of that. But just a couple names to keep an eye on. I think Godbout's the number 5 or 6 prospect in the organization now, and Gonzalez is obviously number 2. Final thought. If you wants to win this here Red Sox Team USA soccer jersey, head on over to redsoxroundtable.com, create a free account, and join our free community. We'll be giving it away when we reach 200 members. Live update on that right now. We currently sit at 134 members in that community, so 66 members away from giving away this Team USA soccer jersey. So go out and join our community over there.
Absolutely. One more quick thing before we get out of here. I would be a fool not to shout out Luigi, the family dog who we unfortunately had to say goodbye to about a week ago. He was awesome. He lived a very old age for a dog, 15 years old. He was awesome. He was doing some scouting up in Portland not that long ago. But a guy who just lit up the room, who made his presence known wherever he went, was always willing to go on car rides, any sort of adventures with the family. He will be sorely missed, and shout him out. And he is the GOAT.
Tip your cap to him. Tip your cap to him.
Yeah. Sorry to end things on a somber note. I guess a sober note too. But
yes, both a sober and somber moment.
yes. But a lot of drinks were consumed on the cruise for Luigi. The legend of Luigi will never die. Shout him out. And I think that's where we'll end things for today. We'll see where things end up. I think we'll check in again after the Marlins series. So we'll have the Giants and then the Marlins series to unpack there. 2 teams that you should take those series from. We'll see how it pans out. As always, thanks so much for listening. We'll check in with you guys again next time.